Welcome to the program. It's Insight today, where we give deep insight as regards very pertinent issues affecting the family front, the society, and the nation at large. My name is Anthony Momodu. Welcome to today's episode, and it promises to give a very insightful look at the discourse, the topic of discourse for today. I will be standing in again one more time for your regular host, Jumain Manson, who hopefully tomorrow will be here in full flight to give you a piece of everything nice he has kept in store for you. On today's edition, it's no longer news that the people of the Southeast have always complained of different version of marginalization since after the Civil War. It's been said that there has not been true and full reconciliation of the people of the Southeast. Also, the Ohaneze Ndigbo recently did call for the need for additional states for the region of the Southeast, and have also did raise the issue of the fact that the continuous detention of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, would continue to cause problems in the Southeast region and the nation as a whole if a better option or resolution is not found. We are very happy to announce or to agree with Justice Binta Inyaku that a political solution is the way forward to ensure that the hitherto sit at home, which has been practiced in the Southeast or forced on the people of the Southeast, would hopefully be a thing of the past once a political solution is arrived at, courtesy of the ruling of Justice Binta Inyaku, who has ordered the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, to seek outside resolution from the court with the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, and that has led or has inspired to this conversation, as the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, on Wednesday denounced the killings of the Southeast over the group's agitation for secession. He also appealed for an out-of-court settlement of his ongoing treason trial by the federal government, and the IPOB leader, who has been in detention since 2021 following his rearrest in Kenya and repatriation to Nigeria, made the appeal on Wednesday when he appeared in continuation of his trial at the Federal High Court in Abuja. All right, I think that's well said. Let's introduce my guest who is joining me on set. His name is Olugbenga George, and he did tell me to you gave me Benga. Let's look at I was struggling to get your new status as the head of politics and governance, African Civil Society.
Yeah.
I'm so used to seeing you as an ex-journalist and see you jump into the next divide. I'm sorry.
Okay, and good afternoon, Nigerians.
Not just an ex-journalist, but
good afternoon, Nigerians. By the way, my position at the African Civil Society Forum as the head of politics and governance has spanned over a year, so it isn't new.
Okay.
Perhaps I've just not
you
used
reviewed it
that
to me today.
office. Yeah, well, I've used it a couple of times, depending on where and what platform. Okay, but for the purpose of this conversation and other, interesting conversations that has to do with national politics or politics generally, I think I better, maintain this position.
All right. The fact talking about African Civil Society Forum, that's quite a very interesting name piece. When you're talking about African Civil Society Forum, not dwelling away from what we're talking about, what does it feel like?
Well, the African Civil Society Forum, is a very important forum, for the civil society in Nigeria.
So it's about civil society organizations?
Yes, you would agree with me, that the civil society is also government, but it is government that is run by the citizens and not those in power. So the African Civil Society Forum is a conglomeration of different civil society groups in Africa coming together, to synergize, to debate their issues, to form a position and inform the people, and midwife between government and the people, because there is continuous dichotomy between government and the people. So the people need to be organized in order for them to be able to approach government. So you see, for example, the NSAS protest, government said, bring us people who will negotiate with us, and then the movement said, we don't have a leader. So there shouldn't be a repeat of such. So what the African civil society is doing doing. We're already doing that. We've been existing for quite a while now. So what they're doing is we say, okay, what are the issues in society? We present it in such a way that we can sit down on table with the government and say, this is the situation, and this is our solution, or these are our suggestions, and all. Because at the end of the day, unlike many people think that antagonism is the way to deal with government, it's actually collaboration and cooperation. You can't want to get something from me. You can't want to talk to me about something without actually appealing to my senses. So yes, it is the responsibility of the people, to demand accountability, and I'm an advocate of that. So where it is necessary, the African civil society will demand accountability. We are doing that at the moment on several platforms and through different mediums.
All right, saying that, I think I was on the right track. This makes you the appropriate person to discuss this. Let's look at what we're talking about today. The free Nnamdi Kanu, using the political solution option. That's our topic for today now. From the African Civil Society Forum perspective, how important is it that Justice Binta Nyako was spot on when she says, seek for a political solution? And do you see it as being realistic?
It's
just a supple way
the truth is that the issue of Nnamdi Kanu, has lingered for this long. And I must say, from the standpoint of civil society, that it is an illegal detention. First of all, illegal arrests, then illegal detention.
But we did call it illegal when it's something treasonable. He actually had been technically,
it is an allegation. So if it was actually,
and he jumped bail.
If it was actually what it is, he's been in court for how long? For close to 4 years, 3 years plus
3
now.
years, yeah.
Are we saying that the judicial system in Nigeria is so laid back that they cannot make a pronouncement, and condemn him or accuse him and give him a punishment that will bring an end to his continuous illegal detention? How many times has the court freed him? How many times has the court asked him to be bailed? But what happened? Successive governments, especially from the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, have denied him bail. So and that is why, for my own part,
he jumped bail. He had to go to Kenya and he had to be repatriated back. Wasn't that enough?
Tony, you don't want us to go back to all of that.
That's part of the story.
Maybe you want us to go back to it.
Because it's part of the story.
I think one of the first things that is important for every human being is survival.
Sure.
You must find a way not to die.
So based on that,
yes, because
that justified his jumping bail.
Yes, you remember what happened. Soldiers went to his father's house in Abia State, and they attacked. They killed goats, killed fowl, and somehow he was able to escape. So when you escape at that point, I think it's fair enough, because if the court had freed you and said, okay, you have been bailed, and then all of a sudden you have military invasion at your residence, what do? Well, you flee for your life. That's the first thing. So perhaps maybe after that he was supposed to now start a legal process against the government. But he didn't do that, and he just went, the whole thing just went silent until the government of President Muhammadu Buhari felt that it was necessary to repatriate him back, and all the drama. So, and you even look at the way he was kidnapped back into the country, because I call that a kidnap.
But do you agree he was accused of still, while he jumped at that period after he was granted bail, he kept making inciting statements that made the government felt he was abusing some of the conditions that made them grant him that bail.
Well, you know, the truth is that we have always said this. You cannot beat a baby and ask the baby not to cry.
Sure.
I think the issue, maybe we should just face it now, the issue that Nnamdi Kanu represents, you know, is an issue of over 40 years in Nigeria that, you know, has not been addressed. So even if it is not Nnamdi Kanu today, and we do not address it the way we ought to address it, trust me, we will always have these issues. I don't know, but if you have the experience, but I experience it every day, that there is a sect of the country that continues to feel marginalized, that continue to feel disenfranchised, that continue to say politically we are marginalized in this country. We feel a sense of belonging in this place that we call home, that is our country. And it's a salient issue that government upon government, especially in this democratic dispensation, have looked away from. So you now begin to ask, why is it so? This argument have come up many times, and you get to hear, well, Southeast people have been part and parcel of government. They have been SGF, they have been Senate presidents at different times. They have been this, and I agree. You know, I have also said before that in democracy, power is not given a la carte. You've got to fight for it.
Sure.
So yes, I believe that the Southeast have got to fight for it. But in fighting for it, there are so many issues that are also
against them already.
Yes, that are against them.
Let's be sincere. Out of the 6 geopolitical zones, the other zones seem not to trust them, so to say.
Exactly, because
which is unfair, because it's more like they're being already biased, even before giving them the chance.
You know, it's two ways. So you can't also blame the people, all right? You can't blame the people that suspect them. They have, when people are angry, you know, there's a psychological, it's a psychological issue. And anger, for example, is a psychological issue that needs to be addressed in many ways. You know, not just by giving someone what they want, for example. You have to reconscientize them. So something happened, you know, at the Civil War, when people, over 2 million people lost their lives, you know, and all of that. And I have said this before. It would have been easy to address this issue if the Nigerian state has accepted that after the Civil War, there was a genocide on the southeastern part of this country. And we have looked for a way, you know, to alleviate or to pacify the people from the southeast region. So you look at democracy from 1999, and you look at the different agitations that have taken place, and you will realize that there is Niger Delta Development Commission, you know, to pacify the people of the southeast for the oil that we take, and you know, the wanton destruction that's happening in that place and hasn't stopped till now. But at least you can see that the people are not shouting; their leaders are not making as much noise, because somehow there's some sort of alleviation.
And they feel like they're part of the country because they've got their
there are
share.
considerations for them every time there is a discussion on the table. So you go to the northeast,
recently,
and you will see the
recent Northeast Development Commission.
Northeast Development Commission was formed. Right now in the House,
the Vice President was there some days back.
Yes, right now as we speak, there is Western Nigeria Development Commission, you know, on the floor of the House of Representatives that is going on. That's a conversation that may soon actually maybe be passed as a bill, and then that will become. So what happened to
the
Southeast? Why do we not have a Southeast Development Commission? Now, the democracy we celebrate today. You remember during the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, there was agitation for the fact that democracy actually was reborn in June 1993, which I totally agree with. And for the purpose of that, June 12th became a monumental day, you know, to alleviate the anger of the Yoruba people because of the victory of Abiola and the annulment of that election. All right, so of that result. So today we celebrate June 12th. Just some few days ago or a week ago, as the day of democracy in Nigeria. What day is Biafra Day in Nigeria? You know,
so which Ohanaeze Ndigbo and the Brethren did call for May 30th as the official day.
So there should be a day, really. Maybe it should be a conversation between government and
the people.
You know, and we wouldn't say that there hasn't been much agitation. You know, there has been agitation, and we have not even touched the very critical part of it now, which is the issue of IPOB. Maybe perhaps we can come to it, but it's a very important part of this conversation. But we are just trying to look at all the sides first of all.
The hot
yes. So because all of these things are the things that led to IPOB in the first place. You know, you remember Masop?
Talking about IPOB, do you think it's still that marginalization issue where it was quick for the federal government to prescribe IPOB, but it takes like forever? Recently, we had the Miyetti Allah Hure group president who was arrested as, for something treasonable, trying to form his own militia group. And before you knew it, it was quick for the federal government, the court, to let him loose, despite how serious treason charges were against him. Do you think that's where the suspicion of when it comes to the northern region, people that anything that has to do with the northern region, there's this?
My brother, I think that is quite rhetoric. It's something we all experience and see every day. So, what's good for the geese is also good for the gander.
Do you think also the
agitations from the southeast, from IPOB, of course, you know, started. That's the foundation. You know, although when you do not take control of something, which is the fact that what should have been addressed or should have been adopted from the initial is the political solution we are talking about. So if the institution had been interested, you know, in having these conversations and saying, okay, what are the issues? Let's put it on the table. Let's look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and come to these conclusions. Then I believe that IPOB wouldn't have come to the level where it has come to. You know that normally whenever there is an organized gathering that is not government, anti-state elements always take over, and you cannot control how much they can take over. You know, in defense of themselves, for example, from the agitations at the initial stage, they needed to start getting arms, which is totally condemnable. You know, but what has the state done to arrest it? How do these equipments, you know, move through the different channels to get to them? So these are issues that we should look at. These are. I'm sad to say, Tony, that it feels that the country is sick. You know,
obviously,
there is a disease that we need cure from, and I don't know. Maybe we need some
revolutions.
No, revolution. Yes, no, not even of that. I'm talking about
spiritual,
magical, you know,
turn around.
Yes, to actually touch this country. This country is sick.
Do you think it comes from the injustice that many individuals and communities, like you've pointed out, have suffered over time? Then, still talking about IPOB and all that. Ohanaeze Ndigbo, Chief Emmanuel Iwuanyanwu, recently did draw the attention of the federal government to the fact that of all the regions, the Southeast region has lesser number of states, and was calling for the need to increase the number of states. Benjamin Kalu, Deputy Speaker, also has touched on that, but did not really push hard on it. Do you think that's another way they can begin to pacify the people of the Southeast? Then finally, in terms of Nnamdi Kanu, how quick do you think this resolution can be? The fact that he denounces the recent killings, is that a show of commitment on his part to ensure that he gets released? And
let me start from that. I think we should never pray to be in incarceration. I've never been in one, but I've always imagined, and maybe I've seen in movies, you know, what they go through. If you are in incarceration, or you want to get out, you know. So maybe he's sincere, maybe he is not, but Nnamdi Kanu has been detained for a number of years now, deprived from family, deprived of his freedom, and all of that. And so whatever conversations come to table that will secure him his freedom,
he would jump at it. Okay.
That's one. However,
but would he change his stance?
That's the question. However, you know, this whole issues we're talking about and the political solution that we are seeking, I want to say that it is a challenge of the Southeast itself. You know, the people in the Southeast are talking about, because we are talking political solution now, you know, there have been certain conversations that have happened. I believe that the people should be leading, you know, the conversations about the emancipation of the Southeast should be the political leaders, those who have the opportunity to be in politics right now. But what have we had so far? How many of them actually talk about the issues? What you rather see them do is denounce and refrain from talking about issues that have to do with IPOB, issues that have to do with the Southeast.
Don't you think it's because of the already bad name or nature of IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu and the fact that they want to play
the people they lead? Yeah. The people, what matters? See, the leader, what the leader is doing in his position is representing the interest of his people.
But in Nigeria, do the leaders naturally really represent the people?
So that is the question now. So they need to first of all agree. Because if we continue to talk about political solution, the people of the Southeast need to come to an agreement. What are the issues? What do we want? How are we going to stand by this position?
Okay.
First of all, if they agree, then we can now have a conversation. Okay. Those in the political cycle, I can tell you for free, you know, are not interested in that. They are enjoying themselves in power. Power is sweet, you know, and they don't want anything that will interfere with that. So the people are different from their leaders. You know, even though at heart, many of them support the people. That is why when there is an agitation, when there is this or that, you will not see any government action from the institution, you know, that addresses it. They will only cry out, we are victims, we are this, we are that. But governors, for example, a governor is the chief executive officer of a state. So when insecurity breaks out in a state, who is supposed to address it first? Who has the elements of government, you know, to control and stem the tide of, you know, rising security? It is what have the governors of the Southeast done to this effect over the time, over the years, since MASSOB, then IPOB, you know, especially in the early days, and now that it has escalated and, you know, and gone beyond the control of even the state itself. So, you know, it is a political problem, as far as I'm concerned, and there are two sides to it. One, the Nigerian state needs to agree that
the people of the Southeast need
some sort of emancipation. They need some sort of
is it like reintegration, making them feel part of Nigeria?
We need to intentionally create stuff that, you know,
make them feel welcome,
like we are part of the country. If creating a state will do it, well, let's go. But I do not think, you know, that even when you create a state, because I have also read, you know, where some of those IPOB elements say, even if you create, we don't even want a state. What we want is Biafra. So that's another conversation, and nobody wants to hear that. That's the reason why Nnamdi Kanu is currently in prison.
Okay, yeah. Can we look at it from this perspective? Since the term Biafra means a lot to them, can we say, okay, we create a state, a new state, name it Biafra as a solution, and the people of Southeast agree?
Well, you know, that's the question now.
And so the people of
the Nigerian Southeast agree. But you asked me, point of action, first of all, is that we should agree, you know, that the people of the Southeast have somewhat been marginalized, you know, that the Nigerian state have wronged them, and then we need to remediate that part. One. Secondly, we now need to take point of action, say, for example, a Biafra Day, like you are suggesting. Thirdly, we need to mend fence, 5 states. Okay, so you have 6 now. And then we know that somehow there is some level of equity.
Ahead of 2027, we are guaranteed.
You know, nothing will happen at the end of the day. I can predict that, because the only thing that will happen is that the people will revolt against their leaders when it gets to some time, when it gets to some point. But the political leaders always have a way of negotiating their own way out, you know, and they will continue to. So, first, the people of the Southeast have to have a meeting with their political leaders to agree on what they want. then the Nigerian state on its part needs to agree that we have wronged these people, and we must look for creative ways, to pacify them.
All right, let's wrap up our conversation. For Nnamdi Kanu, what would this mean to him if eventually he gets freedom? Do you see him staying back in Nigeria and probably joining one of the political parties, or do you see him eventually just leaving the country for good? And where would that leave the people of the Southeast if they don't take advantage of this moment? Like you rightly put it should be a moment where the people of the Southeast, their leaders and people, maybe stake a claim for what they really want from the Nigerian state.
Yeah. If he decides to leave, I'm sure the political space in Nigeria will be excited, but I doubt, because you can only kill him. You cannot kill his vision and his dreams. The dream has been born, and the spirit has been born, and spirits don't die. So, like that's why I said earlier that even if you take Nnamdi Kanu today and you kill him, he has given birth to something.
There's Simon Ekpa already who is
out. I call that one an outlaw. He is an outlaw. All of those statements that he's making.
He has been inspired by.
That's the result of spirit, of having a vision. So when a vision is given birth to, some people swallow it hook, line, and sinker, and that's what we have. So now, what will address all of those is this political solution we are talking about. When the Nigerian state agrees that we have wronged people, and these are the solutions we are bringing to the table, and the solutions are juicy enough.
And someone like that should also be dragged into the conversation and equation.
Well, maybe he should even be arrested. He has making too many. He has made.
But he is based on what's happening in the Nnamdi Kanu and all that. Releasing Nnamdi Kanu and all that wouldn't that
naturally, if Nnamdi Kanu is released, Samuel Ekpa should go into extinction. Yeah. He should mute. But that's why I said spirits don't die. Will the spirit in Samuel Ekpa and the 1,000 or million others who you see on the streets of Twitter every day saying, "Give us Biafra," will they die?
In Europe, we see them
everywhere. They are organized.
With the flags of Biafra.
They have become organized, and they continue to say, "Give us Biafra." Sometimes you will see very interesting conversations about Nigeria, and then somebody will just come and chip it in. "Give us Biafra. We don't want all of this." So, what will make those persons to start thinking in that way, to start saying that? Those are the things that the government, that's the responsibility of the Nigerian government.
We've seen, time not our friend, but we've seen Sudan break into South Sudan. We've seen countries break into two for peace. Any questions around that?
Well, our provision does not provide for referendum, and I think that was the first position. That's why our constitution does not provide for it, for referendum.
Can we begin to think
maybe in the constitutional review, right now, maybe referendum, should be introduced into it, and because the people should actually be able to determine their own fate, where they want to be, how they want to be, and how they want to be identified, who they want to be known as,
I don't know, like for you, if the national anthem is where you belong in that note.
I submit to leadership, but personally, I don't agree with it. I believe that maybe it will have been a bright idea, but considering the long-standing issues in the country, the economic issues and all of that, it is not important to me.
Do you get inspired by it?
I do not get inspired. Maybe because my spirit is not open to it. I'm more focused and concerned with the pains of Nigerians. I'm more concerned with the skyrocketing inflation in the country. I'm more concerned, with the vital issues that disturbs the average Nigerian, and not, the issue of a song. The song that was bequeathed us by our colonial masters, by justification for the introduction of that song and all that, to me is really not sound enough.
All right, just my own opinion. So painful when you're having fun and time creeps on you. Always a pleasure having Olugbenga George in the studio. Always exciting discussing with him, and that's where we're going to draw the curtains on today's edition of the program Insight. Today, I'm sure you've got lots of insight as regards how very vast the political solution and option of Nnamdi Kanu's release is going to be, as we still give a credit to Justice Binta Nyako for setting the way forward for us to see if peace can be achieved with the people of the Southeast. My name is Anthony Momodu, saying thank you for joining me on Insight. Today, hopefully, your regular guest, Jumaye Manson, will be on the hot seat next edition. Thank you.